The first big question is how the up-tempo offense is going with our players and how they're adapting to it. And, we're very tickled to death on how they have adapted to it. They've embraced it, which you need for the players to embrace an up-tempo offense. I think as we get farther into camp and from the spring, they're starting to see how maybe we will create some advantages for us. So those things have been going really well. We went in and we can talk about the up-tempo offense all we want to, but we had a core set of objective values that we have on offense. And going into camp, we felt like, I know this sounds kind of funny, we felt like we had to become better blockers. That our standard wasn't where we needed to be, and that was one of our big objectives of coming out of camp. And I mean, everybody's talking about the up-tempo. Believe me, I don't care how fast you go. If you don't block, you're not going to have much of a chance for success. So, becoming better blockers in that area was a big deal. Second thing that I probably need to talk about is when you go to an up-tempo offense, and something that plays a very, very key role is communication. And we are fighting with and still having some problems getting that. We don't have that where we want it to be. And when I say help communication, I know you're going, okay, what's he talking about? Well, just last night, we had a signal from the sideline. A player brought his eyes off the singler before the play was over. Well, he missed the last part of the signal. We busted a route. Quarterback thought one thing was going to happen. The receiver did something else. Are we getting better in that area? Yes, we certainly are. Are we where we want to be in that area? No, we're certainly not. So we've got to get better in that area. So we've got to continue to do a little bit better job of communicating and handling those situations. The quarterback situation right now, needless to say, Tyler Jones is by far our number one quarterback. We go into this camp a little bit differently than last year. Last year I think we went into the first game kind of trying to work through and sort that position out. That position sorted out right now. The thing that we're trying to determine is who's going to be the number two quarterback. And that's a very, very important position because, guys, we're only as good as our second team. You're not going to go there. Just like last year, Tyler Jones missed a couple of games. Hopefully, God willing, that he'll make all 12 of them this year, and hopefully a 13th one if we get that opportunity. We've got to get, and that's probably going to be a big emphasis on the second part of camp, is getting our backups farther along. So if we do get in situations where we have injuries, we'll get better in that area. But as far as Tyler is doing, he is miles, light years ahead of where he was when he jogged out for the Wyoming game last year. Believe me, he jogged out, and I kind of I was in the press box kind of shaking my head saying, I'm not sure about this, but he is light years. Is he seeing everything I want him to see? No, absolutely not. Is he seeing a lot more than what he saw last year? Absolutely so. I mean, he's identifying coverages so much better than where he was last year at this time. Is he still missing some? Yes. Are we ever going to hit 100% on that? That's just about impossible to do as a quarterback, is to hit 100% on identifying coverages, identifying handoff keys, pitch keys, who we're reading here, who we're reading there. The one thing I will tell you about the quarterback in our offense, all right, there's not a play that goes by that he does not have a crucial role in it. We are asking him to read a defensive lineman. We are asking him to read defensive ends. We're asking him to read linebackers. Then when we get in past that, and that's just on the run game. Then we get in passing situations, it's all about identifying coverages and safeties and what they're doing. So there's not a play that goes by. Managing a football game is a kid making plays. And are we going to ask Tyler Jones to manage the football game? Yeah, he's got to manage the game. There's no doubt about it. But let's don't take that lightly. So if you hear me ever say our quarterback did a nice job of managing the game, believe me, our quarterback played a heck of a game. And I don't throw compliments around. A lot of times the kids tell me I throw them around like manhole covers. So, I'm not real big on throwing those. I have a very high expectation set for our offense and our quarterbacks, and they know that. And I have lofty expectations, and I expect them to live up to those. I know one of the questions a lot of people want to know how things going, what kids are coming to the front, who's having good camps. I think there's several guys that have started off the hay. You know, let me say this: camps are usually handled. Good camps actually start in the summer. I even bring them back to spring. So if a kid usually has a good spring, comes in and has a good summer, you can bet your dollar he's probably going to have a good camp. And we've had some kids that have done that. One of them sitting in the room right now, Adrian Ballard, has had a good camp. We feel like he is so much farther ahead than where he was last year. Ben Aja has had a good camp at receiver, and we need for him to do. Ben is doing some things that, you know, Bryn would probably be mad at me if he heard me say this. Bryn's probably not the fastest receiver in the country, okay? But Ben is 6'3", probably 215 pounds. And what makes that important? He's starting to use, and it's starting, a light's coming on to him that how I can use my physical body against maybe a smaller corner and what I can do to, you know, help myself in that area. So we're starting to see Ben do some things that, you know, in the past he hadn't done, and that's using his size, his physicalness to get in position to help him win one-on-one situations or one-on-one battles, whether it's running or blocking or catching the ball or whatever it is. He's starting to do those type of things, and that's good to see. Guys, I'm excited about all three of our running backs that we have coming back. You know, and again, I say this, I'll tell you the good with the back. Is Bobby Lowe the fastest running back in the country? Probably not, but I will tell you this, Bobby has great sense of knowing where to make cuts. He has what I call great vision. I've coached a couple of running backs that have great vision in my day. One of them was a guy by the name of LaDainian Thomas. Bobby Lowe has great vision. Now, I'm not comparing Bobby and LaDainian to one-on-one, but I will tell you this, Bobby Lowe can see cuts. And he can do things in space, and you know, sometimes that kind of counter sets. You don't have to be a 4-5 guy if you see if you've got great vision and you can make cuts, and he's got great balance, and that's what he does. I'm very excited about Terrence Franks. Terrence Franks is another one coming into camp. You hadn't heard a lot about Terrence, okay? I know he had a few breakout games, but you hadn't heard a lot about him lately. Terrence had a good spring. Terrence had a good summer. Terrence is having a good camp, and we're excited about where he is. You know, Chris Nuttall, Chris is Chris. You know, Chris is very good in space, has always been good in space. So, you know, as long as we can get the ball to him, get him into some open fields, he can be a very exciting player and a very good weapon for us. I'm trying to bounce around. I want to make sure I cover tight end wise. You know, we're excited about where Ryan Clarnton is. We're excited about where Brad Miller is. Brad's doing a lot of good things. You know, we ask a lot of our tight ends. You know, a lot of times you'll see Brad Miller, we'll pull him back inside and make him an inline tight end or a tight end that's just right off the ball, and we'll ask him to do physical things, and yet on the next play, you'll see him flex down in a slot spot, asking him to vertically stretch the field. And that's asking a lot, and you know, we feel like Brad's done a nice job in that area. He's another one of the kids, and again, it goes in sequence. Good spring, Brad had a good spring. Good summer, Brad had a good summer. Good camp, Brad's having a good camp. Now, we just got to keep progressing and get the team along farther. With that being said, and they gave me a little thing up here to kind of run down. They know I'm not smart enough to figure this stuff out by myself. But with that being said, I'm going to kind of open this up. Does anybody have any questions?
CJ had a great spring for you guys. How's he doing?
You know, Steve, I'm glad you asked that, because CJ's been nursing a little bit of a knee, you know, a little tweak in his knee. Nothing bad, nothing. And you know, sometimes if they're not in there right now, you know, I'm not smart enough, I'll forget them. And CJ has, coming into camp, has had a very good camp. He's had a little swelling on his knee. That's something that's going to be worked out. We're not worried about it. You know, that's going to go down, and we'll get that handled and managed. You know, we're going to probably have to watch how we use him on two-a-days and how many reps we actually give him. And maybe, you know, I always tease CJ and tell him that me and him were the old man on the team, and he laughs about that. But, no, CJ is somebody that can be very dynamic with the ball in his hands. So, you know, we're trying to find ways to get the ball to him. And we have found some ways that we're hoping that as we go into the game or our season, that we'll be able to get the ball to CJ, and he'll be able to do some things that'll help the football team.
Fran was talking about the schedule. One day first game in November has helped you guys start the preparation last year the whole season, right? To have the schedules fall together.
Oh, there's no doubt. We're excited about the schedule. I think it, and I can't speak too much on defense, but I think John likes it because he's having a little bit of extra time when you go against the defense that he's going to go against early. Our offenses that he's going to go against early, like a triple option. I mean, at least you can take time, and we're not looking past Arkansas Pine Bluff. Don't take that wrong, okay? But we're trying to prepare for the season, and we know we've got a triple option team that we're going to play early in the year, so it gives him a little bit of time, And I'm speaking overall on this thing. Just preparing for John Thompson's defense every day helps us because John's going to give you everything that's been created in football. I mean, we've seen a lot of different fronts, a lot of different coverages, and we need to see those things. And I think in the long run that'll benefit us, because we're having to communicate things on the offensive line, switch calls because there's a different front that we're seeing. So those things are going to help us. What we're trying to do, needless to say, is create a very good base for the season. And then let that base carry us through the season.
Offensive line,
I'm glad you asked that question, and because I'll bring up, I can remember sitting up in the press box at Southern Mississippi and looking down on the field. We had Felix Romero, who was a redshirt freshman that has not taken a varsity Division I snap, okay? You had Ryan Milton, again, he was on the field, a redshirt freshman that had not taken a varsity snap. Adrian and me and Adrian have talked about this, the year Adrian didn't redshirt, but Adrian's snaps were limited in the first year he was here. He probably didn't take over 100, you think, maybe at the most. He hadn't had a lot of Division I varsity snaps. Well, this year when we go out there the first game, we're going to have a little bit more of a veteran group up there. Felix has had a bunch of snaps. Ryan Milton has played a bunch of snaps in the game, along with Matt Freeman, Charlie Will Tuttle. And some of their kids, I mean, you look at that whole group. Zach Crawford has had a lot of snaps in the game. Thistle has had a lot of snaps in the game. So that has helped the offense along. I mean, are we veterans? We still got a bunch of young kids. I mean, I call redshirt sophomores are young kids still up front. Back in the heyday, back when Tom Osborne was rolling at Nebraska, they never played them until they were 4th and 5th year seniors. They never got on the field until they were that old, okay? But, that's what's happening. We are getting a little bit more veteran, have a little bit more experience up front, and hopefully that's going to pay off dividends for us when we hit the season.
Coach, talk about better blocking. Talk about how that's coming along on the outside, specifically when the tight end goes with the flex and slot and the wide receiver blocking. What kind of things are you working on to kind of get better blocking on the outside?
Well, I could spend probably a couple hours up here talking about the fundamentals of blocking and what you have to do and how you have to handle it, as far as getting your hips down, pad level, leverage. We're working all those things. One of our big things, is get your eyes lower than his eyes. Well, if your eyes are lower than his eyes, you got leverage on him, don't you? So, I mean, again, we're talking about just base fundamental things, trying to fit that. Fran, the great thing working around Fran, and he is a big believer in fundamentals. And, we're going to hang our hat on doing that. We've got to get better. We're not where we want to be. But yeah, and we ask our receivers. Our receivers have to be physical blockers now. We ask them to do a lot of things up there. And so, are we where we want to be? Absolutely not. I don't know if you're ever a coach, if I could ever walk in here and say, yeah, we're exactly where we want to be blocking. But I do think we're much farther along than we have been in the past. I think the big thing is, and this comes a little bit with the up-tempo, our kids have really embraced this. Our kids are excited about the up-tempo, and I know a lot of people coin that phrase up-tempo. I refer to it as controlling tempo. All right, and you control the tempo of the game, and you create an advantage that helps you in the game. Now, when I talk about controlling the tempo, as I talk to our kids, that's not going lightning fast every snap. All right, that's making sure you use tempo as an advantage to you. Are there times that you think that you're going to be able to fatigue a defense? Absolutely, yes. Are there times that you're going to be able to hopefully confuse a defense? There's a small window, and if you're going fast, they have to fit formations. They have to see things, they have to fit formations. And are we trying to create some of those advantages by going up tempo? Yes, but there's going to be some times, I promise you, during the season, you're going to say, oh, they're not going very fast. That's probably going to read that those are going to happen. And there's going to be calculations by why we had made that decision to go slow.
Coach, I was trying to say to you, if there's one thing that you said is better about your team now, at this time of year than it was last year, at this time, what would it be?
What'd Fran say? I want to echo it. What'd Fran say? I want to know exactly what he said. What's the one thing that's better about our team right now? I think we have a good attitude, number one. I think our kids really are excited about where we are. I don't think we're as young as where we were last year. I mean, I keep going back to that. You know, we ended up by the third game of the year, or fourth game of the year, whatever it was, we were starting a true freshman quarterback. So we're not as young as what we were, and I think the experience is going to help us quite a bit.
You didn't say that wasn't it. That was
Uh-oh, I bet.